Hey guys, anybody that saw my last video and was paying attention, I mentioned that I'm waiting on a USPS shipment that was supposed to arrive Monday. It's Wednesday now. Of course, it's still not here. Remember, their motto is we'll ship it when we feel like it, if we feel like it. That's their mission statement, I think I said. So now I have to kill time just so I can get a video out there and try to stay, on schedule. The schedule that I made up and nobody really cares about for publishing videos to YouTube. About a year and a half ago, I think, I made a video called Weirdos. And if I remember, I'll put that, there'll be a link at the end of this thing for it. And it was about people that, to me, looked like they were doing something unusual. I talked about Josh Roberts' slipstroke. I talked about the people using their wrist. I talked about people like Francisco aiming bottom left until the actual stroke. Things that just looked a little bit weird, and everybody I talked about was absolute top player. So it was working for them. And I never did really understand why a lot of these people were doing the things that they do. They just are. And like I said, it's working for them. I got thinking, I watched that video earlier today. Watching the top players have all the fun. Why did they get to be the only ones that are weird? I got to look thinking about myself, and I do some weird shit myself. And I'm just going to talk about some of that stuff. Um, I'm absolutely not a top player, and sometimes these things, sometimes they don't work for me at all. Sometimes they seem to work pretty well. And don't do them all the time. Because I'm not one of those like buy the book guys. You know the book that I'm talking about, the Secret of Pool book, which is not only out of print, it doesn't exist. But if it existed and it was in print, it would talk about look at somebody like Federer, stand back, port arms, step in exactly the same way, do everything perfect by the book. See, I can't even demonstrate it without losing my concentration. I've never been one of those people, and I have no desire to be one of those people. I don't want to tie up all my brain power into being perfect because I can still miss. And if I miss, somebody's not going to go, well, at least he had perfect form. No, they're not. They're going to go, he missed. He sucks. I've written up there on my whiteboard some of the things that I do these sometimes, not necessarily every time. The first thing I have written up there is if you ever watch me, if you ever watch some of my videos, see me in person somewhere, watch me shoot, you may notice that a lot of times I'll bob my head. I'll get what looks like I'm lined up and I'll do this 3 or 4 times sometimes. And it's not because I'm indecisive. It's not because I'm not committed to the shot. It's because I don't have very good depth perception. I've mentioned this before in other videos, but in case you haven't seen that, I'm a naturally nearsighted person. In 2012, I had LASIK on this eye to make it farsighted. This eye they did not touch. It's what's called monovision. Some people can get used to it, some people cannot. Just as far as being able to walk around and read and all that, they can get used to it. And I have, and I don't have to wear reading glasses. Yet I can see at a distance and I can see up close. I just don't have good depth perception. When I first had the surgery, I had pretty good overlap. This eye could see fine out to 5 or 6 feet. This eye could see fine from like 4 feet on. So I had that overlap where everything had nice 3D depth perception and everything was in focus, which was handy dandy because that's right where all the pool balls are usually. It's not the case anymore. As I've gotten older, this eye has gotten more and more nearsighted. This eye has gotten more and more farsighted. So now instead of having a nice little overlap zone, I have a gap where I can't see anything in that zone clearly at all. And again, a lot of that's where the pull balls are. So if you're watching me play, either on video or in person, and you see me doing just bobbing up and down, I'm trying to generate a nice 3D picture for my inner pool player to be able to see, because down here I don't have very good depth perception. I kind of see just a 2D picture of the shot. Up here, I can see the angle great, but I might not be in alignment correctly with the cue stick and the shot line because I'm all the way up here. So you'll see me bob up and down a lot, and that's what I'm doing. When you see me doing that, maybe it's a time where I don't feel like I'm shooting particularly well, and so I'm doing that to try to reinforce and reinforce a nice 3D image of the angle I need. You'll see me do that more often on bank shots than on regular shots. But I don't do it all the time, just sometimes. When I first started learning how to bank, this is just one of those things that I just started doing. And I couldn't figure out why, but I wasn't going to argue with it because I was learning how to bank. And if the ball went in, it was kind of a superstitious thing. It became kind of superstitious for me. Where I'd have a shot, and I'd come around, and I'd tap. And then I'd bend over and shoot the shot. Of course, that's not a bank shot, but I was doing that, all the time. That's not a bank shot that'll go. Is tap, 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 tap. I didn't really know what the heck I was doing. Like I said, except that it worked. What I believe now I was doing back then was helping to set my distance, helping to let my inner pool player again know what is the distance between my body and that cue ball. There's several ways that this can be done. One way could be, have perfect form and be out here at port arms and step in and all that, and you're going to have your distance. Another way is just do that. That's fine. Another way I've talked about before might be something like this, and then step in to the stick. Leading with the stick, I think, was the name of that video. You don't see me doing that as often, like here on the video or in Derby. You won't see me doing it that often because this table is the same height as the ones at Derby. Now, at my local pool hall, the table I usually play on is about 1.5 inches shorter, closer to the ground. There's a range of, allowable heights of a pool table. And that table happens to be at the low end of the range. This table happens to be at the high end of the range. So a lot of times in there, I would find that I'd come up on a shot and I'd be too close. I'd be closer than normal, closer than I was expecting. So I would end up backing up, tapping to make sure everything seems okay, and shooting that way. I don't do that nearly as often as I used to. Maybe I'm getting used to it or whatever. But I used to do it, and it used to work. Distance between my body and that cue ball are almost as important as left to right alignment, in my opinion. In my opinion, they are. There is a difference in stroke timing and everything between me being up here and me being back here. There's a difference. And yeah, so I'm not setting a distance. I'm not going, okay, 31.26 inches. I'm not doing that. This is just, okay, this is the distance that you're dealing with right now, Dave. And that's what you have. Hey, inner pool player, now you know what the distance is. It doesn't have to be a tap. It just started out as one. Don't know why. It looks weird. I don't really do it in public very much at all anymore. I don't know if you guys are going to be able to see my feet from this shot. But I do this thing fairly often, probably just about every shot, which I'm doing my little dance. And what that is doing, and again, instead of having perfect form and stepping into the shot and everything is perfect and I'm doing the same thing every time, I'm just kind of okay, I'm just standing here. Maybe I'm tapping, maybe I'm not. And I'm getting solid. If you guys can see my feet, I'm moving around, not until they're in the exact same relative positions every time. I'm just moving around until I'm solid. Until I feel solid and balanced and everything. And then I can go ahead and shoot the shot. I almost missed it. But even though I did my little dance, I almost missed. I do that probably more often than anything else that I have written down. I do it on almost every shot, I bet. Unless I just happen to get into a shot and everything's perfect the first time around. I'm already balanced and solid the first time around, but usually I'm not. Well, in the 80s, I've talked about this before too, but again, not everybody watches all of my videos 24 hours a day. You don't really understand why you all don't, but the guy that taught me how to be a good pool player, a much better pool player than I was at the time, certainly. He was all about the inner pool player, playing by feel, the inner pool player, and all that. And one of the things that he always did, when he would get on a shot, as he was getting into his stance, is he would do this. And he was doing this to make sure he didn't have any tension. He wasn't tensed up by trying to make sure everything stays in a perfectly straight line. Because what if this perfectly straight line isn't the proper shot line for the shot? Remember, inner pool player guy. So he would always do this and moving around. You'll see me do this sometimes. More often than not, you'll see, I guess, my version of it. As you'll see me when I'm getting down on the shot, you see me wave the tip around. Either around in a circle, left and right, whatever. I'll be doing this as I'm coming down on the shot. You'll see me doing that. That's to make sure I don't have any tension and to make sure that it's going to be my inner pool player that picks that shot line that I'm going to shoot the shot on. I do this one fairly often. I don't do this one as often as I used to, but I do this one fairly often. Probably not every shot, but an awful lot of them. And the last thing I have here, this is just something that just showed up. It just showed up one night several years ago, and every now and then I'll find myself doing it again. And I've mentioned many times that I have a billion different little physical styles and elements because I like playing with stuff like that. I like messing with stuff. I spent a long time trying to rediscover a physical style that I had where I went into dead stroke for several days. This was during that period of time when I was playing. I had a shot. I was probably still tapping back then. Don't remember. But instead of coming back and shooting like that, I would come back about halfway. Pause for a millisecond and then continue the motion. Don't have any idea what any of that is about. Obviously, it's going to be affecting the timing of the stroke, but in what way, I don't know. I just know that there have been times when I've done with this hitch, I call it a hitch, where it seems like I can't miss for a little while. And then, of course, I do miss, and I'll move on to something else. If I remember at the end of this video, I did several shots this evening where I was doing the hitch. I wanted to see if there was anything else about it. It seemed like I was coming back and then maybe coming back more slowly. So coming back quickly, pause for that millisecond, come back more slowly. And I don't remember if that's something that I was doing, in the past or not. It seemed like that's what was happening, though. I'll find out. I haven't watched the video of me shooting a little while ago. Oh, I missed. So, like I said, everything ends on me. Doesn't last forever, so I move on to something else. And that's what I'm going to do here. watching the raw footage of the video that you guys are watching, I guess. And I noticed, hey, Dave, that's something else that's weird. So this will be like an honorable mention thing. And I noticed it when I was back here demonstrating my little dance. And I've noticed it before. I don't bend my legs the right way. Not by the book. Remember the book I talked about that doesn't exist? I will typically bend my right leg and straighten out my left leg. And so it looks like I'm leaning back. I guess I am leaning back. This is almost always what I will do instead of locking my right leg and bending my left leg and bending forward like the books all say to do. I know that part of the reason for that is down here, I don't have all the leg room in the world on this side of the table. So maybe that's part of why I got into the habit of bending my right leg, because I can't move my left foot or my right foot back any further. But I've been doing that for a hell of a lot longer than I've had this house. When I first started playing, I had much more of just a crouch. Just a crouch, straight crouch, then both legs. I used to always say I could jump straight up in the air. If I was more athletic and less heavy, I could just jump straight up in the air from my pull stance. Of course, the books say, now back up a little bit, lean into the shot with a straight back leg. I mess with that. Some of the styles that I mess with, I do that. Tend to shoot harder when I do that. It's changing the leverage of my stroke or something's happening. I tend to shoot harder. But for the most part, I do exactly what I just showed you. I will do my little dance, and then I will have this leg straight and this leg bent. And it definitely does look weird. Whenever I watch it, I almost missed that 11 before. So there's something about this shot, probably just because I'm talking to the camera. So we'll get rid of him because he sucks. Those are the things I have written down about little idiosyncrasies or whatever I have. There are going to be a hell of a lot more that I just didn't think of. There's going to be a hell of a lot more that I'm probably going to develop over the next several days, weeks, months, years, decades, if I live that long. But those are the 5 that I just thought of. And I wanted to make a video to kill time because, how long is this video? Oh, this is plenty linked. Because USPS, say it with me, is not my favorite company. Thanks, guys.